Hello, this is one of the first program of the International Channel. Today we're pleased to have Professor John Bacon-Shone, former Dean of Social Sciences and currently Director of Hong Kong of the Social Sciences Research Center of Hong Kong U. Professor Bacon-Shone was also a full-time member of the Central Policy Unit of the Hong Kong SAR government from 1998 to 2001. He was trained as a statistician in UK University before becoming a social sciences professor in Hong Kong. And you've been one of the most trusted advisors of the Hong Kong SAR government in a wide range of topics, including population policy, immigration policy, gambling, privacy policy, and of course, open data. We're talking about open data or access to data. You don't want to use a technical term. Well, Professor Bacon-Shone, tell me, how is Hong Kong doing in open data when compared to the best practices around the world?
Well, my preferred framing is perhaps reusing data for other purposes, right? So open data is one way to achieve that. So I think if you look at it in terms of how Hong Kong is doing, the question is, what is a fair comparison? So Hong Kong has a great advantage, similar to Singapore, that we're essentially a city-state. State is the wrong phrase, obviously, for Hong Kong because we're jurisdiction, but essentially we're managed as a city-state. So that's much easier than, say, a federal organization. So if you look at the US or China, because they have both city, state or province and national, it's quite hard to manage data because you've got what happens at the country level, what happens at the state or province level, what happens at the city level. Hong Kong, we only have one level. So when we collect data by the government, it's generally collected from the whole of Hong Kong. There is some data collected at say, district level, but it's very limited. Usually most of the data is for the whole of Hong Kong. So that means that obviously we should be able to do much better than other cities which aren't a state in themselves. And also we should be able to do much better than places like the US or China. So if you take that as a start point, we actually don't do too badly. There are some places that do much better than us, such as Taiwan. Some places we do much better than, actually, like Singapore, I would argue. And I think the differences between us and Taiwan and Singapore have a lot more to do with the political systems than anything else. So if you like, the geographical hierarchy, we have an advantage. And I think we do quite well on certain things. So now the government, for example, has a very good licensing policy for the data sets which they make available. So that's quite good. So on those things, we don't do too bad. But there are some forms of data where we're quite a long way behind. So particularly Taiwan. So I think Taiwan has had the big advantage that many of those open data policies they have were created by outsiders coming into the government. So I think we need to think a little bit, so this is going somewhat beyond my expertise, so maybe you should talk to John Burns about, civil service bureaucracy. So I think Hong Kong has some weakness in our civil service bureaucracy, so this is not a criticism of the individuals, it's a structural issue.